Hi, and thank you for joining me today. I am Jenna. In this yin practice, we will focus on the element of earth. So we will do a lot of grounding shapes and a lot of opening to the hips and the legs. And hopefully afterwards, you'll feel like you have new legs to walk with. You might need some props to feel supported. So whatever you have, grab it now so that you don't have to leave your mat while you're in the practice. And if it feels like a good idea to you, feel free to play some music, something that can really help you tune inwards, whatever you prefer, whatever you love. We'll get started in hero seat. So you'll come seated on your heels, like so. If this is not available for you as is, feel free to put a block underneath your bum so that you can just sit on the heels, or rather on the block. Take your time to settle in. Take any last adjustments that you need to take so that you can come into complete stillness. Have the palms facing down, either on your knees or on your thighs. This will help you ground. Eyes closed. Let's take 2 clearing breaths together. Through your nose, take a deep breath in. Little pause at the top. Open your mouth and let it go. Feel the energy drop down from the head towards the heart. Once more, breathe in. Pause. Open your mouth and let it go. Feel the energy drop down even further from the heart towards the belly and the hips, all the way to the earth. You can seal the lips and start to deepen the breath right away. Focus on finding equal length inhales to equal length exhales. With each breath out, can you feel the body softening? Can you feel the body sinking? At the same time, feeling yourself supported by the earth. Now you can place your hands wherever it feels good for you, somewhere on your body that feels like a home base for you, that feels like a space of safety for you. Try not to overthink it. And by tuning into this space in your body, you can ask yourself, what is it that I need right now? And whatever comes up for you, let that be your intention for the practice, and take 3 more deep breaths with your intention. Next inhale, you can blink the eyes open, release the hands. If you had a block underneath your buttocks, I'm just gonna turn sideways so you can see what's happening. Remove your block, lean forward a little bit so that you can tuck the toes under, bring the balls of the feet onto the floor. We'll come into toe squat. One of my favorites, great way to wake up the lower body, start to really stimulate all of the lower body meridians that end and begin in the feet. Make sure that you have the little toe tucked under as well, so you will need to readjust that manually. If this already feels like way too much for you, you cannot breathe, the shoulders are coming up to the ears, come forward and release as much weight off of the heels as you need to, and then you can slowly ease into it when you feel like the feet begin to open. If you're feeling fine here, rest the hands wherever it feels okay for you. Try to sit up tall, close the eyes, and find the breath again. Deep breath in. Complete breath out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep the breath going. You can continue at your own pace, but become aware if the breath is coming high up into the chest space. Can you lower the breath back into the belly? So when you breathe, the belly moves first. As you breathe in, the belly gets bigger. As you breathe out, the belly relaxes. Soften your face, relax your shoulders. Separate the back teeth a little bit. Make sure you don't bite your tongue here. And at any point, if you'd really love to let go of the tension and soften the body, always feel free to take a deep breath in through the nose and sigh it out through the mouth. Last 3 breaths, make them big. Let go what you no longer need. Great. Blink the eyes open. Thank God that's over. Come forward. Uncurl the toes. Bring the tops of the feet onto the floor and sit back onto your heels. Even when I've been doing this for years, I still feel a lot, but now I can kind of enjoy it. So make sure you're seated on the heels again. Even if this is too much for you, put a block underneath your bum so that you can just sit here. If you'd like to take it deeper, start to bring the fingertips behind you, way back behind you, bend the elbows and see if you can pick up the knees. So now we're opening through the tops of the feet. It's the opposite stretch to what we just did. If you're feeling quite comfortable here, you can bring the hands to heart, challenge the balance a little bit. You'll have to engage the core slightly. If this feels like way too much, just lift the knees as much as you can. Breathe. 3 more breaths. Soften the forehead, relax the jaw. Slowly lower the knees. Start to come forward, come into tabletop. If you know that your knees are quite sensitive, at this point you might want to put a folded blanket towards the sort of back end of your mat so that your knees can stay there when we move on to the next shapes. Come into tabletop. Might feel nice to stretch the legs long behind you after we've been seated on the legs for a while. And then arrive into tabletop. If you have some blocks, have them handy at the top of the mat. Step the right foot on the outside of the right hand, lizard. You'll probably want to move the left knee more back so you have a really long stance. Here we want to start with the right knee a little bit behind the right ankle. So when the hips begin to open, because they will begin to open in this shape, you don't want to end up here with the right knee going past the right ankle. Make sense? Yeah? So let's start from here. If you feel like this is already a lot for you, use blocks, bring the floor a little bit closer towards you. When you can lift the upper body and soften in the upper body, it's also easier to soften the hips towards the floor. So the first minute, I'm just gonna put a timer for us because I have the worst sense of time and I don't wanna keep us in here for more than we need to. So first minute, we just stay here centered, square to the center of the mat. So make sure you're still plugging into the right big toe. The foot is not spilling out. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. You can let the head hang if that feels okay for you, but really make sure that the head is hanging completely without any restriction so that it's not sort of cranking halfway up. You can also look forward if that feels better for you. Deep breaths into the belly. Complete breaths out. Deep breath into the belly. Complete breath out. You may notice some heat coming up in the body. That's totally fine. If you notice any frustration come up, just take a big breath in. Exhale, let it go. I'm going to give you the option to go a little bit deeper if you feel fine here. You can roll onto the outer edge of the right foot and bring the right hand on the inside of the right leg. So you add a gentle twist, turning over to the right side. And if you feel like you have more space, you can go deeper towards the floor. You can always come onto the left forearm or have the left forearm on a block. And it is okay to find some intuitive, gentle movement here, kind of feeling out the hips and the legs, but just become aware when the movement is becoming distraction. We're here to stay present in the body and in the sensations, not distract ourselves. Last minute, you can stay in either of the variations that I showed before. And if you're feeling a lot right now, you can always come back. If you want to add on, catch the left foot with the right hand behind you. Dragon catching its tail. You can try it out. If it really does not work out for you, always be open to letting it go. Being committed to serving your body, your needs in this practice, but also playing with your edges, really finding your limits so that you can understand how you work when you're challenged. Shoulders away from the ears, soften the jaw. Let's take 3 more breaths. One more. Slowly start to release. We'll come into swan, or you might know it as pigeon. So bring both of the hands onto the floor. Heel toe the right foot behind the left wrist. Set the right shin bone down, set the right knee down, play a little bit with the angle on the right knee. Do you want to bring the shin bone closer to the front of the mat? Do you want to have the heel closer to the body? And now if there is space between your right buttock and the floor, put something underneath so that you can just sit there. And you don't need to actively flex or point through the right toes because we're doing yin, so we want to soften everything. Everything in the legs, feet, it's just sinking and hanging. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, melt it down. I'd like your forehead to be resting on something. It can be the floor, it can be your hands, it can be a block or another type of prop. See if you can start to slow down the breath here. And since you are closer to the ground now than you were in the lizard dragon variations, see how it feels to allow your energy to ground down as well. Simply just lengthen the breaths. Connect to the gravitational pull of the earth and feel yourself melt. Soften your forehead. Drop the eyebrows. You can have your eyes closed. It's a very introspective shape, removing any visual stimulation from the outside. Really just being with your body and being with the sensations in your body. Soften the jaw. At any point throughout the practice, you can open and close your mouth a couple of times to relax the jaw. Take 3 more breaths here. Notice where you could soften a little bit more. Begin to press the hands onto the floor. Slowly lift the upper body up. Remove your props to the side if you were using them. Now this is the best part, the release. So take this really gradually. Try to use as little muscle effort as you can. Since we went really deep into the hips, we want to keep them, the muscles, as relaxed as possible. So use a little bit of arm strength so that you can just drag the left leg forward and then slide the right leg back. Take a big breath in. Exhale, side out. Any intuitive movement that feels good for you right now. There is no right or wrong. Close your eyes and just tune into your body. Keeping in mind that you use as little effort as possible to maintain that space and the opening that you just created. Come back into tabletop. Step the left foot on the outside of the left hand. You might want to move the right knee a little bit more back, but still making sure that it stays nice and cushioned. We'll stay centered to start off the series of lizards here. If you want, you can bring some blocks underneath the hands to bring the floor closer towards you. You want to drop any expectations right now because the two sides of the body are usually a little bit different or a lot bit different. Soften the face, relax the shoulders away from the ears. You can roll them back and down. Deep breath into the belly. Complete breath out. Breathe in, belly gets bigger. Breathe out, belly relaxes. Breathe in. Breathe out. First minute done. If you'd like to add on, feel free to roll onto the outer edge of the left foot. Bring the left hand on the inside of the left leg. If you want to take it a little bit deeper on the right hand, you can bring the right forearm onto the floor or onto a block. Just a gentle twist over to the left side. You can let the head just hang. Soften the neck so that the breath can flow effortlessly throughout the throat. Any intuitive movement is okay. There's no need to stay rigid in the shapes, finding fluidity with the breath, but always acknowledging when it becomes distraction. Feel free to stay in either of the previous variations. If you're feeling a lot, always ease out just a little bit and work through that. If you'd like to take it deeper, catch the right foot behind you with your left hand. Wherever you are, keep sinking the hips down. They're just sort of sagging towards the floor. Last 3 breaths, feel free to sigh it out, letting go of any frustration, any stress, anything that may have been bothering you lately. Slowly let go of the back foot. If you were holding it, both hands on the inside of the left foot, heel toe the left foot over to the right side, left foot behind the right wrist. Up to you how much you want to parallel the left shin bone to the top of the mat. No need to actively point or flex through the left toes. The legs are relaxed, and put something underneath your hips if they are not supported with the floor. Take a big breath and see if you could lengthen a little bit more through the heart space. As you exhale, melt it down. Forehead is resting on something. It can be the floor or another prop. Close the eyes, soften the forehead. The eyelids are heavy. Relax the jaw. Feel the neck spacious. Shoulders away from the ears. And keep guiding the breath into the belly. Slow down the breath. See if you can allow the energy to ground down. Feel into the gravity, feel it pull you towards the earth. If the mind has wandered away, bring it back to the breath. See if you can slow down the breath even more. Feel the body soften a little bit more with each breath out. It's very gradual progress. Last 3 breaths. Slowly start to ease out, lift the upper body up. Take your time, remove your props. Use a little bit of arm strength so that you can just drag the right leg further forward. Use as little muscle effort in the lower body as possible. And then you can just sort of slide the left leg back. Take a big breath in, sigh it out. Make any sounds that you need to make. You're at the comfort of your own home. Take a moment to find any intuitive movement that feels good for you, that helps you reset. Next inhale brings you back into tabletop. Next shape is saddle. So if you know that full saddle is not available for you, you can do what we did in the beginning. So you can just sit onto your heels and work with this. Here as well, you can start leaning back to open up more into the fronts of the legs, the fronts of the feet especially. So this is sort of the most gentle variation for saddle. If this feels uncomfortable, if it hurts your knees, you can do half saddle. So you come lay down on your side and then you catch the top foot behind you. I'll let you know when we're halfway there so that you can switch sides. And then if you'd like to try out for full saddle, we'll start in tabletop. Bring your knees together, separate your feet a little bit wider than your hips, and see if you can sit in between your feet. It's very important that your feet point straight back, not to the sides. You might want to roll out the calf muscle away so that the upper leg can fit nicely. Important here that you try to keep your knees as close together as possible, but still keep the legs relaxed so the knees don't open up too wide. And we want the knees staying grounded the whole way through, especially if you decide to fold back. If you have long bolsters or big couch pillows, you can place them behind you so that you can rest your upper body on top of them. I'm just going to show this without any props. If this feels like a lot for you, seated in between the feet. If it's not available, you can try out the same thing, but sit on a block. So here the feet are at the outsides of the hips, but you're still seated on a block. So I give you lots of options. See what feels best for you. Maybe you take half saddle, laying on your side, catching the top leg, the top foot behind you. I'll let you know when we're halfway there so that you can switch. If you're feeling fine in saddle, you can start leaning back. Important that you keep the knees close to the floor and the knees close together. If you're leaning back, take a moment to tuck the tailbone under so you can smooth out the lower back. There is not an uncomfortable arch in the lower back. If you feel like you have more space, feel free to lay down on the back. Full front body extension. Start to find the breath. Soften the body, relax into the breath. Unless you're all the way down the floor, keep looking forward so your neck stays as relaxed as possible. Sensation in the joints, in the ankles, the knees, in the hips as well is always okay. Pain is not, so this practice is meant for you to build that awareness, to honor your body. We're halfway there, so if you're doing half saddle, slowly ease out and switch onto the other side, flip onto the other side of the body and catch the top foot behind you. Last 3 breaths. If you're laying down on the back, start to rise. Coming out of this won't be the most graceful, but again, you want to use a little engagement in the legs as possible. So use the hands, press them alongside the shin bones, lift the upper body up, and swing the feet on either side so that you can just sit, extend the legs out in front of you. Maybe give the legs a little wiggle, a little shake, or just sit in stillness and notice the blood rushing back into the legs. Notice any sensations. Allow the sensations to settle down as you slow down the breath. If your eyes were closed, gently blink them open. We'll come lay down on the back. I always like to have a very lightly folded blanket underneath my head just to elevate it a little bit. So maybe you place that there for yourself as well. Bring the knees into the chest for a moment. Give yourself some rocks from side to side, back and forth. Notice how the hips feel, the spine feels. Bring the feet onto the floor, legs are bent. Sleeping butterfly, soles of the feet together, let the knees fall apart and make it as spacious as you want to. So if you're feeling a lot here, you can always put some blocks underneath the legs, underneath the knees, or you can just slide the heels, the feet further away from the body towards the top of your mat so that you have more space, the space through the legs, and this will help you relax easier in the shape. You can rest your hands wherever it feels comfortable for you. Maybe you notice after all of the shapes that we just did, the hips and the legs feel a lot more open. Eyes closed. Remind yourself of your intention for the practice. See if you could still honor it for a few more moments while you're in this shape. If this shape is feeling really good for you right now, feel free to stay here for a few more minutes. We've been here for 3 minutes now. If you'd like to take a more traditional Shavasana, feel free to ease out of sleeping butterfly and come lay down on the back fully. Wherever you decide to stay, wherever you decide to go, make yourself comfortable and give yourself at least a few more minutes so that you can allow yourself to feel grounded and centered, just being with yourself. I'm going to leave you here. Stay for as long as you need to. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.